Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L coming in to read, Black Clover chapter 2019. Not really read it, more like go through it and talk about some of the stuff. I'm pretty excited because there's some things that happen in the chapter that have a lot to do with the previous chapter and what we were talking about. So yeah, we're going to talk about that. Quick note, because this is the first video of the day on September 11th. We will... Oh, I was planning to get this out yesterday, but I had some problems with my internet yesterday, and I just got tired after filming the Dan Machi episode. So this is coming up, and then Dan Machi's going to be right behind it, and Kimetsu's going to be right behind it, and Dr. Stone's going to be right behind it. And then we're ending the day off with Isekai Cheat Magician. Anyway, before we get into the chapter proper, like I said, it's September 11th. I feel really bad not being somber about this when everyone else is being somber about it. So for the Americans and everyone else actually affected by what happened, well, actually, it's been quite a while now. What, 18 years ago? Yeah, for everyone affected by it, moment of silence. Alright, I mean, if Hong Kong had the time to take us a moment from their protest to observe some silence, we can do it for the first YouTube video of the day. Any hoosers. Guys, thanks for joining me. Here we go. Let's talk about Black Clover. So, Black Clover. What we ultimately got in the chapter was what we were talking about in the previous chapter. That is, the Black Bulls are being used. This opportunity is being used as a way to get the Black Bulls to go on a road trip. So that worked out. And throughout the chapter, we also had the implications that Julius did in fact predict this to some degree, because you had Yami commenting like, did the kid know this was going to happen so far in advance, which is really important because that justifies the lax behavior, that justifies the lack of preparedness, that justifies letting Asta go in here. All that's really left in this case in terms of how things went is just that, you know, it's on the Black Bulls for being so lax with letting Asta go in first. But as for everything else that was going on in terms of why did Mary got released without any kind of protection, it's all can be justified. Julius had it under control. He clearly had things. He clearly had a plan behind what he was doing, because as the chapter explained, there was a lot of movement going on there. That said, we do have to say that last time I was expecting, you know, I don't want to say I was right for this because I was expecting something a little bit different. But ultimately what we got was a case where Julius was plotting. Yami didn't know. The Black Bulls didn't know. He probably just predicted the Black Bulls movement. But we ultimately get a situation that, yeah, this is going to be a road trip. Another thing like I was initially thinking was that this was going to be done in a way that the nobles themselves wouldn't know that they were being tricked in order to prevent intel from leaking out. But you know, instead in this chapter we got a very blatant declaration of what's going to happen. The Black Bulls are going to be exiled, and they're going to go and find out more about the devils and all that. So overall, we got a nice compromise between what I was expecting and what Black Clover wanted to do. So all good there. Let's begin the proper chapter walkthrough. We're going to cover it in sections because there's no need to cover each page bit by bit. So the first section is the Black Bull moment, you know, the Black Bull camaraderie. In this section, what we really got was Gotch being hilarious and everyone else having nice little conversations with Asta. I think it was really interesting. The biggest thing that we take away from this moment is just that Nero has officially been made one of the Black Bulls. They've united under the banner of being oddballs, so I'm all for that. And it was really cool to see Magma and Finrel there and them. Well, everyone was kind of doing it, but it was really nice to see them all rallying around her. Again, this seems to me like, in terms of narrative beat, in terms of a story beat, this seems to me like something that you would have expected right before a giant battle. Like, you know, in the previous arc, like, there could have been a moment where this kind of thing, like reaffirming someone's place in a group, comes during conflict. Because it's happening here, it feels like the author just wanted to have the moment there, so they had to like kind of drum up a conflict for this moment to get to occur. So again, it lends itself to this idea that the author is going through a checklist of things that a shonen needs to do. Regardless, we were in the situation. I think the author did well enough. I think he made it work, and we ultimately get a pretty cool shot of Nero in her new vestments. Now, the second section is Kyra making a move and coming back at the Black Bulls, and we get to see some of his magic, and that being his magic regulates other people's magic. So that makes sense. I mean, like, his power is scales, so again, makes sense. But the moment that this guy uses his magic to regulate everyone, and he's going in with the idea that these guys are going to be defenseless after they get their magic regulated, you know, every single reader of Black Clover should have been like, this guy's about to get shown up. Asta is about to reverse whatever happened here. Asta's about to screw this guy over. So I was very excited because on Viz, you know, you just have the one spread. You know, the next page is where it's happening. So it's like, what kind of face is this guy gonna make? If it was One Piece, you would have had an extremely expressionate face of just total disbelief. Like, I don't know if you guys read One Piece, but if you are One Piece readers, the NL face, it would have been a face like that, but it's Black Clover. Black Clover is a little bit more serious. Anyway, I love the setup for that because when we go to the next page, like clockwork, right there, we do get Asta using his, I think they're calling it Fate Release, which is pretty cool. But he erases the guy's magic. And the guy's face, even though it is Black Clover and Black Clover can't go too far, I appreciated the guy's face. Made me feel good. That moment he realized, oh shit, I'm dead. Yeah, no, man, that was pretty cool, man. Although I do want to talk about the little distinctions that we got in there, because we had Vanessa, Rouge didn't go, so that was pretty interesting. I like that they made the distinction that he wasn't able to negate the fate manipulating cat. That's really interesting, and it just does reaffirm to you, like, yeah, we got to remember Vanessa, in terms of magic pedigree, she's on a different kind of pedigree because she's from, well, the nation of the witches, and they're special. So it's really cool to see that the author's maintaining this degree of specialness when it comes to Vanessa's magic, because we know for Black Clover, the support characters and their magic are really useful for Asta, especially because Asta's, for him, a lot of the problem in fights is the approach on the enemy, so people like Vanessa who can allow the approach to happen. I really do love the power balance that the author is maintaining when it comes to Vanessa's power. Anyway, this was the Kyra gets shown up section, and then we go into the grand scheme section where the knights come in and they're talking about what exactly is going to be going down in Black Clover. So in this section, you know, we find out what we want to do, and we find out how this is going to help the situation domestically, and, you know, how they're going to influence the situation internationally. First, let's just talk about the domestic thing first, just because it's the simplest thing. Kyra introspects, and he tells us, he narrates for us, the readers, the value of the move that he just played here. It's pretty much everyone got leeway. There's the opportunity for people to find out who's innocent. There's the opportunity to satiate. There's the opportunity to sate the bloodthirst of the nobles. If the nobles need someone to blame, they pretty much have a thing that they got here. Like, people are being exiled. Overall, it works. It works to sate the masses. That's really the big thing that we got in terms of the domestic situation. The international situation now is really interesting. The one that I want to point you guys towards is, I think, on one of the final pages, where Fregoleon tells us, as written by the Magic King, the Black Bull's Magic Knight Brigade and those suspected of ties to the devil are to be exiled from the kingdom and kept under observation. And while they are abroad, they are assigned the mission of exploring and investigating the devils. What I'm pointing you towards is that those suspected of ties to the devils, that's the big thing here, because that's saying it's not just the Black Bulls that are going international. If I was to make guesses at who else is going to be joining here, they're probably going to put people in, and they're going to say, like, oh yeah, they're suspected of ties, if they really want to add in some of the fan favorite characters. But I do expect that Yuno's going to get slotted in there. I do expect that I would expect Vengeance to get slotted in there because he was the host for one of the big ones. So I would expect I would expect the Midnight Eye group, or the Eye of the Midnight Sun. Yeah, that's the name. I would expect the previous evil group, so Liar and them. I'd expect them to be lauded into this group. I would expect Yuno to be lauded into the group. I would expect Vengeance to be lauded into the group, and then anyone else that they want to put in there under the pretense of like devil ties. I think that'd be fine. And the Black Bulls have a base big enough to have them in there. So I'm really excited because you could get the All-Stars. If I'm thinking about this from the perspective of a manga, it only makes sense to me that the author would put in the fan favorite characters. Fan favorites are going in there, and it's going to be cool to see. But I'm definitely expecting Yuno to some degree. Because I can't imagine Yuno sitting out a whole saga when Asta and Yuno are like, they're like, Yuno is the secondary protagonist here. So I'm very excited. I love that there was that little bit of a line that tells us more people are going to be here for this next journey in Black Clover. Anyway, yeah, we'll keep this video relatively short because I want to get to the other videos, but this was cool, man. I really liked it. I really liked how things worked out here. I thought it was really cool how the two nobles came in. I liked that they used their clout. I think it was pretty funny that Fuego Leon can hold a scroll without burning it up with his powers. I liked that Julius had things under control in the background. And I also like that we're all going with this charade about a devil that's the cause of all of this. Yeah, okay. I'm much more interested to find out about other devils, but yeah. Overall, I think this chapter justifies the behavior of the other chapters. I'm glad things worked out in a way that, yes, all this was happening because we were moving into we were getting an excuse to go international. Overall, I enjoyed the chapter. I think this chapter makes the other chapters better. Let me know what you guys thought down below, and till next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day. Man, it feels weird to end this chapter so quickly. I'm just used to talking so much on Hero Academia chapters. Anyway, off to Kimetsu.